Are we gonna sink or swim in this spring market? Well, I'd watch all the way to the end. Got some eye-opening stuff for you. We're here, Jennifer Gale Real Estate Team channel, YouTube. Like and subscribe, link in the description. Comment, ask for a consult, because we're there for you. We're here with Chris, AKA CMAC. He's our stats guy. I keep saying he's a former banker. Probably doesn't like it, but he is. Got a little bit of a different skill set than us. In his words, he just said, pass it to me and let me cook. So Chris, cook.
Awesome, thank you. And listen, before we start cooking, we got to add a few ingredients to the recipe. Just so, I think, Drew, this is our second time doing this now.
Yeah.
We do have a campaign, and it is called Dress Shirt Drew. And what we're looking for right now is we want to have, Rachel, what's the, if we get 20 likes, or if we get 5 comments that say Dress Shirt Drew. Rachel, besides you, could you bring that over to me, please? We wanted to always, Drew's always going on about, hey,
those pits are really yellow.
Dress
like I'm
shirts
kind of disturbed
and
by
tie. Now, I just want you to see that we've got the tie. It's even got houses on it.
Is the neck 20 inches?
So we're gonna say that the sizing could be optional right now. We're not 100% sure, but I think Drew does have a shirt that will fit. And again, if he's not comfortable with that, let's bring it back to cottage country. Drew, these socks are so comfy. Not only do they got
I'll wear the
homes
socks,
on
man.
them.
I'll wear the socks.
Feel how nice those are. If we get 20 likes, 5 comments that say Dress Shirt Drew, next month when we do stats, we're gonna have Drew dressed up in a tie.
Shut your up and do the stats. We will see. I am not committing to anything. Do the stats. I'm committing to having Chris on once a month to do stats, but he should probably tread lightly because I can axe him in a second.
He could. He's got
joking.
that creative power.
I'm just joking.
Buddy, you already opened this up?
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. Okay. Cook, man, cook. Let's go.
Okay.
I see a whole bunch of pages here.
Yep, I'm gonna need my glasses for this because even though the paper's close,
as do I,
my eyes cannot determine it. Just quick little bit of a change though is I wanted to make sure that we cover Woodstock, Ingersoll, Tillsonburg, and area.
Our board, yep.
Because the Jennifer Gale team, the Gale Group Real Estate Team, Jennifer Gale Real Estate Team and Gale Group Brokerage, we're expanding.
Yep.
So we're growing, and with that, I want to make sure that we encompass more area representing what we're actually doing.
Cool.
Okay. So with that said, I've got 6 metrics that I'd like to go over. I always like to do the month over month. I like to do the 3-month or the quarterly average. And I also like to make sure that we see historically any trend because my line is always trend is your friend. So let's get into it and let's see how we look.
Okay.
So we're gonna start with sales activity. So for February, 96 sales. So we had a 33.3% increase month over month, which, hey, first data looking, that's great. We're starting to trend in the right direction. When we compare it to the 3-month average though, we're just under 6% shy of the 102 sales. Now with that also comes a little bit of seasonality because we had a high November, we had a December that was a little bit lower, but detached homes are transacting on 73% of all sales, which is always gonna be our strongest home type. With that said though, Drew, this is, as was with January, this was the lowest 10-year February sales report, only followed by 2018, which was, with both similarities, we had affordability issues with bond yields. So bond yields in 2018, we saw a spike when we had the very low mortgage rates. There was, something that happened in the economy at that time, which increased it. We saw, hey, listen, sales dropped. And where we are right now with bond yields, that would also be an affordability standpoint. But there is a bullish tag to this as well. I just wanted to make sure that I called that out.
That's bizarre because I would never think if somebody asked me like in the last umpteen years, name me a time that it was really slow.
Right.
And I would never pick 2018 as like a February that was like slow.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It just doesn't come to my mind as like, wow, remember 2018 where it was felt like this? Like it didn't feel like this.
101 sales back in that time, right? So yeah, and it's just interesting because I'm always looking for the pattern or what was similar. And when we see that the mortgage rates increased, you could see where it did slow down the sales, and understandably so, because people want to move with some caution, right? So let's jump into new listings now. So we had 214 for the month, actually a 1.4% decrease month over month.
Good.
So when we look though at the 3-month average, we were at 190 new listings. So we're actually 12.7% higher than the 3-month average, which is great, especially if you're a buyer, because more inventory is coming onto the market for spring.
And that would be including like holiday season that people didn't list.
Correct, or expires, right? Things came off, 100%. A great stat that I like to look at as well is when we look at the quarterly averages is our sales to new listings ratio. So 54% of all new listings that are coming onto the market, again, even if it's a relist, but 54% are moving. So to me, that's a great stat because that means either if they're coming on brand new, they're being more in tune to the market, and B, if it's a relist and they're coming in, they're saying, hey, this is why I may not have been successful. Here's what we're doing this time around.
A little bit lower.
That's right. So that portion there is nice to see because it shows that, hey, when we talk sales activity, it's the lowest February, but we're also seeing, hey, well-priced homes coming onto the market in the form of a new listing, more than half are moving. So that's a good sign.
Yep, good.
Active listings. So this is now where things get interesting, right? Because we talked about the sales activity, we talked about the new listings, but what about everything that's on the market? So for February, we have 572 active listings, Drew.
We had 16 at one point in 2021.
Wow.
16.
Yeah. And you know what? That's actually a good stat to know because that will help us as we get into, dude, where's my buyer pool section?
Yep.
So with that said, 6.9% increase month over month. The 3-month average was 583. So we're actually 1.9% less versus the 3-month average, meaning that inventory levels were still flat, okay? Again, we talked about the seasonality of it, but here's the part that's crazy, is that the 3-month sales average versus the 3 months of active listings, when you look at the sales, 17.8% of all active listings are selling, meaning that from a statistical standpoint, it may not look like we're in a balanced market, but that's what the stats are telling us.
Yeah. I mean, as a 20-year agent, I can feel it, but new agents get, they're not as patient. They're just used to what it was like for the previous 5 years. But like, this is what it was like 15 years ago. And all the time.
100%.
All the time.
And we'll have some data breaking that down. But here's the other crazy thing, is that from an active listing perspective, this February was the highest February out of the last decade. So when you start to break it down, you look at the sales activity, and then you look at, what the new listings are selling for, and you look at, hey, here's a total active listings. You would sit there and say, oh, we must be in a huge buyer's market. Like, look at all the inventory. We're not selling that much. But in fact, we're in a balanced market. Yeah. And it's just really about, hey, where the price points are and where that buyer pool is.
Yeah. Yep.
Average price and median price. So this one for me, and Drew, I know, and I've watched videos from you in the past, and I know your stance on this. I'm an either or. I think both have advantages and disadvantages. Like, I look at your most recent listing right now, neither average or median are gonna help you with your most recent listing.
Yep.
And I think there's a lot of people that are in that boat as well.
177 Tamarack Boulevard.
That's right.
Ontario.
And I think it's the story that we wanna tell. But what I'm seeing here is follows, is that, so we got the monthly average, which was $614,192. $137, which was down just less than 1%, so 0.7%. But the median was 577,500, down 2.1%. So right away, just from a month-over-month basis, that's telling me that at the median level, that's where the price drops are happening. That's where some of the bigger negotiations are happening, because that price point is dropping. When we look at the 3-month average, though, to say, let's look at the trend, we'll see that the average price for 3 months is down 1.1 and the median is down 1.3%. Again, this is going to have, with respect to, you're coming back on the market. We spoke earlier, hey, you might have been listed. Maybe you came back on as a new listing. Maybe you dropped the price. There's also, hey, strong buyer negotiations are happening right now. You're seeing that in the market.
Yep.
I'm seeing that in the market, right? Like, buyers are coming in a little more aggressive. And hey, like, if you know what, they're looking to negotiate the best price, all the power to them, right?
You're cooking, dude. You're cooking.
Yeah? Are we going to put the tie on right now?
No.
Like, is that where we're at? Like, are we cooking to
you're
put the
going,
tie
man.
on?
It's good stuff.
Okay, so let's talk though about months of inventory. Okay, so right now, so for February, 6 months, we were actually 18.9% lighter month over month. So that is saying, hey, we've got some inventory that's moving off the market. Doesn't tell the full story of what happened, with the transaction. Did it just come off voluntarily? Did it sell? But 6 months coming in a little bit later compared to the 7.4, that's great. But in comparison to the 3-month average, we're 1.7 above. So the 3-month average was at 5.9. And it just, again, what it tells us is that there's inventory that's going to be coming back onto the market. We're ramping up for spring. The trending right now is showing that the spring market looks to be, hey, if you're a buyer and you want to be a competitive seller, there's going to be opportunity this spring for you. And it's just going to come down to the affordability side for the buyer and the price point for the seller.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it's 6 months. 6 months, 3-month average is still 6 months. 1.7 increase isn't like a huge deal, but it all makes sense because everybody, I mean, there's a lot of people, you've heard them, I'm just going to wait till spring.
Yeah.
I'm going to wait till spring. And I mean, I get it because some houses will present better in the spring. Some people are just, they might have traveled. They might be in Florida. Like if you're an older couple, you might have to wait till April to sell your house because you're not even home.
Yep.
So it makes sense. You probably do a snapshot of that too, like in the fall, where September would probably look a lot like March.
Yep.
As far as just like this influx of inventory, but hopefully we hope that the buyers start getting out too, right? You just don't want all this inventory to flood the market.
Yes.
And no buyers are coming out to buy because that means your prices are going to start taking a hit.
And the interesting thing to everything that you're saying is, believe it or not, again, this February, this is the highest month of inventory in the past decade that we've had. But the statistical data shows us selling at over 17%, that it's still a balanced market.
Yep.
So it's crazy because, at the same time, you're saying we have the most inventory, we don't have the highest number of sales, we have the most months of inventory, but we're still balanced, which is still potentially, there's a bullish element to this as well if you're well priced.
Yep.
Lastly, days on market. So this is the one that's really kind of like jumped up, and Drew, your experience in, prior years, like for the month, we were 64 days to sell. And we know how this number can be, kind of twisted a bit.
With the cancel relist
Correct.
and all that.
So,
I look at it as, I mean, maybe I'm an optimist, but I look at it like it was pretty cold.
Right?
It was like pretty cold this winter.
Yes.
And it was snowy and I feel like through my 20 years, like a week of snow and cold can actually keep people in their houses. So those buyers are not necessarily looking when it's minus 20.
Yes.
If it was a milder winter where snow and roads and people traveling wasn't a factor, I actually think that would affect that.
Yeah.
Not saying like that's the only issue, but it could be an issue.
Oh,
like
it definitely would.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that if you looked at any business, let's just say it's a shopping mall, say it's a restaurant. Like if you go back to January through that cold spell where it was minus 25, it was minus 30 with wind chill.
Nobody wants to go
And
out.
you said, hey, was your business just as booming as the month before, or even till now with the weather change? Most likely they're going to say, we certainly saw a decrease with people coming. The same's going to be in
Food,
real estate.
restaurants, everything.
Real estate,
Yeah.
like there's no, you don't need to go. You know, hey, if you want to buy, you're looking great. But if you're going out to check on things and, you know, again, looking at this data, you can afford to wait maybe for it to be a few degrees warmer, right?
Yep.
So with that being said, the 3-month average was 54. So Drew, the part to me that's kind of like a little worrisome is that this number jumped up by almost 19% compared to the average. And we're talking about the January cold that just passed. We're talking about the December and November. So what's your thoughts on that?
Seasonal and cold.
Done.
Sorry,
Love
I tapped the table, Dino, but hey. No, I look at it like it's hard to say. The holiday season, winter, a cold winter, I don't know how those affect it. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I'd like to think it does a little bit. You know, an increase of 10 days on average over the 3-month average. You know, not the greatest considering that 3-month average would have included Christmas and New Year's and that mid-December to mid-January kind of month frame. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Right.
We'll see at the end of May, the end of June. I'd like to see those averages to see how those in a snapshot compared to like the previous 3 months.
Yes.
So like the March, April, May 3-month span.
Yep.
I think that will give us our true what the market's doing. You get so many blips in the depths of winter.
Yep.
It's hard to kind of say, but we'll see.
And it's why I like to use the 3-month average always when we're comparing each month.
It moves like it's a rolling 3-month.
Sometimes you'll get the, you know, the poorer months in it. Sometimes you'll get the, you know, the hotter months in it as well.
Right. So like there'll be a 3-month average where December and January, like this one, are included, but then each one of those months just gets knocked off the end and
100%.
maybe a better one gets added onto the front. So
Like what happens if your February is doing better, say, than your April? And then you're like, wow, okay, right?
That's
so
an issue.
That's the data, right? So I wanted to talk lastly here, and I do have detached stats, Drew, if you want to go back on this, but I'll let you make the call on this because
that's why I like the title, Dude, Where's My Buyer? There you go.
Right?
Chris, C-Mac, he's hip, man.
So, but here's sort of the reality, right? And this is where, like, again, when we want to have those additional, like those elevated conversations with our clients, like this is some of the information that's very important. Because Drew, I know like you've been on like, you know, countless amounts of listing appointments or even like when you're looking to purchase, and you're going to always see, hey, here's where I want to maybe think where the property should be off, you know, data that we're using, comparable analysis to say, here's recent sales, here's economic factors, here's micro and macro factors. And then you're going to, of course, have, hey, here's potentially homeowner, you know, built the basement themselves, lots of sweat equity, great memories. There could be a potential disconnect, right? With maybe where your professional opinion might come into play versus where they think that the house should be at. And then again, we're going to look for, hey, where's the compromise, right? Where can we come in at? This data here, though, tells a story, and it's okay, there's a few bullet points here, and I'd like to go through them just so that we get the reality of what's actually happening in the market. And what I did was I took all of the sales that happened for the month of February, and I'm gonna actually say, I'm gonna state, here's the sale in this listing price or sale price versus how many of the properties are actually listed. And that way you can see exactly how much transactions are happening in each one of these specific price points. So for instance, we had the $2 million Ingersoll investment property that sold very quickly. I think it sold for just over 2.5 million. Yep. But we have one sale in February versus we have 8 properties, which are more of the rural. We're gonna have farms in that included. But we had a 12.5% sell rate at properties greater than 2 million. When we drop down though to properties that are listed currently right now between 1 million and 1.9 million, we have 37 properties listed right now.
That's all of WITAAR. So
That's all of WITAAR.
Woodstock, Ingersoll, Tilsonburg.
Correct.
Okay.
For the month of February, we had 3 sales. So we had 0.8% of a sell rate. For properties that are listed 900,000 to 999,000, we have 35 properties currently listed. We only had 1 sale in February. That's a 0.2% sell rate. And we have properties for 800,000 to 899,000. We currently have 56 properties listed. We had 3 sales, and that is a 0.5% sell rate. So before I continue, Drew, I want to get your thoughts on this because to me, that's an eye-popping stat in comparison to sell versus properties listed.
Yeah, I mean, it's not shocking. Obviously, the higher numbers, you know, as the interest rates go higher or lower, but like they're higher than they were 4 years ago, the higher properties are harder to sell. And to me, you've got to have really nice ones. You've got to have conversations with the sellers that you need to be prepared to be on the market for a little bit. That's just the nature of the beast. But like this is all kind of, you know, I see not like, let's say 8 to 9, you'd be surprised to only see a 0.5% sell rate. There's 56 properties listed. That's like the majority of like the Northeast Woodstock subdivisions and the subdivisions where there's newer houses. There's just a lot for sale. So, you know, if the buyers aren't out and there's a lot for sale, that number, you know, obviously jumps out at you. But again, I'll liken it to like, I want to see what those percent, I want this exact stat at the end of May.
Yes.
Because I'd like to see if it's changed. I think the trend will be the same, but I want to see if the percentages have changed.
But this is where I see with the stat, and this is why when you kind of go in and you really do break the numbers down. Let's go back to the 572 active listings though. So again, even though that number is 572, we just rhymed off about 140 homes that are not selling at even a percentage rate. Meaning that, so yes, the inventory, when we say, hey, listen, well-priced homes are still selling, when we go back to the fact that we're saying we're in a balanced market. So if we took that off and we changed the active listings now to 440, well, what do you think happens to that transaction rate?
Yeah.
Right? So it's just, so the numbers are one thing. Yes, we have the highest number of active listings in February for the past decade, but we got to look at the context, where the price points are, and then again to say, hey, there's more, I guarantee you there's way more of these price ranges now than there were, say, 5 years ago.
Yep.
Right?
Oh,
yeah.
For sure.
So let's move into now where things though start to move a little bit. And we're going to go to the 700 to the 799,000 range, where we have 73 properties listed, and we now have 12 sales for the month of February. So that's a 16.4% sell rate. So that, Drew, that's actually in the balanced market now.
Yep.
So this is in the range where, hey, as you mentioned earlier, it's going to take a little more time. You know, the home's going to sit there, but it's still moving at a very healthy rate. When we go to the 600, we're going to call it, we'll take this one together. We're going to go from 500,000 to 699,000. We have 206 properties listed. We had 47 sales. And if we take this quick average, we're going to call it about a 23% sell rate. Drew, that's seller's market percentages.
Yeah.
Like that means that transactions in these price points are moving. And when we look at everything under 499.9 thousand, we have 129 properties, we have 29 sales, and we have a sell rate of 22.4%. Again, meaning that if you are listed right now, 799 or below in Woodstock, you're in balance / seller's market territory for when it comes to your turnover rate with the home, which is fantastic. And again, when you combine the numbers, when you look back at all the active listings, if you just surface level looked at it and said, hey, here's the number of listings, we only sold 96 homes, wow, it doesn't look that great. But again, diving a little bit deeper, you can see there are pockets where Woodstock, Ingersoll, Tillsonburg, and surrounding area are still moving very well.
Yep. Okay. That's a lot to chew on, dude. That was extensive. You cooked. You cooked. We're going to wrap it up there because that was good. And I think you're going to be a trend guy. You're going to be like a economist guy. So you'll be our quarterly economy guy, and you're going to be our monthly stat guy.
Well,
and you're going to be the guy that's got the answers.
And I'll change it up as we need it. But I think, like, again, just different perspective from me.
Yep.
But I want our homeowners, our clients, and potential people to know that, hey, just surface level versus a deep dive. It's not all doom and gloom. Yes, there's things for us to be worrisome about and to keep kind of in our rear view and maybe in front of us. But there's also lots of good as well. And it just depends on what side of the fence you want to attack.
Well, we did have a month previous, a month or two ago, that had nothing for $1 million sell. So things sell. It's just they take longer the higher the price they are.
Yep.
So we're good. All right. Till next time.